Hello everyone. Today I'm going to be releasing a video that is very much different than anything I've released on the channel. However, I find it to be equally as important as anything I've released before. Actually, it might even be more important. And I apologize, my little doggy in the back, but she's lonely and she needs company right now. All right, straight to the point. There is no doubt that every person who pursues a musical dream wishes to be successful. And I believe these 10 tips that I'm about to give you will help you become successful at any level of musicianship that you're currently at. Whether you're a beginner, whether you're intermediate, whether you're a professional and you've been touring for 20 years, I believe these tips will be helpful to you. So let's get straight to the point. We're going to start with number 1, and that is be good at your craft. There is no substitute for being a phenomenal musician. You can't really fake that, and that requires a lot of consistency, a lot of practice, and just your 10,000 hours. This is stuff that doesn't come overnight. To get to the point where I'm at right now in my musicianship, I spent years. I mean, I started playing when I was at the age of 9. And then I kept playing, and pretty much just consumed my entire life with guitar all throughout high school and early years of college. And I still practice all the time. And if you keep with it and stay consistent, no matter what, you will get better. But it does take time, and I think realizing that is a really good thing. You have limitations, and you need to push those every day, but also knowing your limitations will help because you won't try to shortcut anything. There's no shortcuts into becoming great at your craft. Number 2, be brave. This is a huge one because there's a lot of musicians that don't really get to the level they want to just out of fear. They're afraid of what other people think about them. They're afraid to make calls, to be social, to put themselves out there. And realistically, if you're not brave, people can smell it. People love confidence, not cockiness. That's a completely different thing, but they love confidence. So be brave, pursue it, fully commit to it if this is what you want. And if you don't find yourself fully committing to it, then I would just highly recommend doing something else, because there's going to be other people that really, really want the position that you want and will fight tooth and nail to get it. I actually think a lot of these just apply to life in general or just pursuing any goal, but I do think bravery is an integral part into becoming a phenomenal musician. All right, number 3, huge. Actually, every tip I feel like I'm about to give you is huge, but be prepared. There are amazing musicians out there. I know so many of them that I have hired for gigs or been on gigs with before, and they just show up and they're just not prepared. And who wants to hire them again? No one. They kind of lost their credibility because they didn't show up knowing the material. The craziest thing about it is I feel like you even lose more credibility if you are wildly talented, because everybody knows that you just didn't care enough in order to do your homework. So be prepared. Don't commit to things that you feel like you can't be prepared for. And then people will start thinking about you in a more positive light because they will know that they can count on you. Number 4, this is an interesting one, and it's one that I've had a lot of experience with. Be sober. I mean, this is a wild concept. I know that a lot of musicians love their marijuana and they love their booze and they love all that kind of stuff just because I feel like creative people kind of shift towards that. And I also feel like creative people, they sometimes try to mask their problems just because they feel a lot and they just kind of want to numb it out. But this is one of those things where I know some of the most incredible musicians in the world that have had drug problems, that have had alcohol problems, and I just look at them and don't want to call them for anything. And if that one aspect of their life was gone, then I would hire them for anything. Of course, if you have an addiction, of some kind. It's not so easy to just say, just stop. That's not what I'm saying with this, but you will be outcast 100% if you have a drug or alcohol problem, and no one will want to work with you in the long run. So you need to get that aspect of your life together if you wish to be someone that's good to work with. Number 5, be reliable. I think that this kind of relates to a few of the other ones I had already previously mentioned, but reliability is a huge, huge thing. It kind of relates to punctuality, in my opinion. Say you show up late to a gig. You may kind of have this carelessness or this just kind of go with the flow mentality with things, but the thing is, if you show up late to a gig, you're not just affecting you a lot of the time. You're affecting your bandmates, and then they don't want to work with you. I mean, who wants to work with someone that is having a hard time with showing up on time? And not only does it affect them, it starts to affect you. It starts to affect your credibility. No, that is absolutely selfish, and it makes you a headache. Plain and simple. So I know I'm getting a little passionate about this right now, but it's just like, I really wish the best for every musician, especially those with an incredible level of talent. And I feel that musicians a lot of the time get in the way of themselves. So being reliable, responding to people on time is huge. There are times where I've lost gigs because I hit up a bunch of bandmates or just people I know, and I say, hey, are you available for this? And there's one person who takes much longer to respond, and then everyone else responds really quickly. But I text whoever the booking agent was, and I say, oh, we're all available 9 hours later. And he says, sorry, the gig was already covered. That's a thing to think about. Be punctual, be reliable, show up on time. And I think you'll have a much, much easier time getting a gig and being better to work with. Number 6, this is huge. Be kind. Nobody wants to work with someone who is negative. That is tremendous. I mean, yeah, there's musicianship, of course, but if you are a negative force to be around, then your talent doesn't matter. It doesn't. If you're not nice, no one wants to hang around you. And again, you'll be outcast. You'll be put on an island. That's sad because there are certain musicians I know that are as good as anybody else in the world, but I will never call them for a gig ever because they're negative. Who wants to be around a negative force of energy? No one. It gets in the way of the music a lot of the time. So be positive and be kind. Number 7, be teachable, which is another way of just kind of saying be humble. No matter how good of a musician you are, I think it's really, really important to hang around people that know better than you. I've heard the quote, if you are the most talented in your band, you need to join a new band. Yeah, I mean, I more or less agree with that statement in theory. If you surround yourself with musicians who know more than you will learn from them. And it takes a certain level of humility to go out and surround yourself with musicians that may be more qualified than you. It's easier to just be in a band where everyone maybe is not equally yoked and maybe you're more advanced than the other players, and it can make you feel good for a moment, but you're actually not going to grow in an environment like that. And it doesn't mean that the bandmates you're with need to be constantly telling you how to play or anything like that. Just being in the presence of greatness will bring you to a different level than you were before. Number 8, and I feel like this is a pretty underrated one. Be presentable. That's something that I struggled with for a really long time. And by the way, I've actually struggled with all these things at one point or another. I mean, I'm human. I have made mistakes, and I think that my reputation has gone up the more I've improved in each one of these categories. And I still feel like I'm working on this one. Be presentable. People hear with their eyes. If you look like trash, people will kind of view you like trash. It's just natural to do that. And it also says a lot about you if you are dressed like you don't care. They're going to get the idea that you don't care. They're going to get the idea that you're cheap, maybe, or they're going to get the idea that you don't respect the audience enough. If people are going out and they're paying money to see you and you look like a slob, they're probably going to be a bit disappointed, regardless of the way you sound, because again, people do have a tendency to be very visually driven. It goes back to the saying, people hear with their eyes, which I think is a good segue into the next one. Number 9, be unique. I think this is a fun one because think about all the musicians you look up to. Let's just give an example. I grew up listening to a lot of Guns N' Roses and watching Slash play the guitar. And I think Slash would even admit that he's not the most technically gifted guitarist in the world. But the dude has style, man. Not to take away from his talent, because he is very talented. But he's him. I mean, he's got an image. When I hear him play, he's got a specific style to his playing. Another example is Angus Young. He's got style. He's got a unique sound. That's just this kind of explosive playing. And he's not Mozart, but he's Angus, right? He's not trying to be Mozart. He's unapologetically Angus Young. And this kind of goes into showing your personality as well. I think that we live in a really weird time with social media. I have always kind of shied away from showing my personality on social media because I've been so hyper obsessed with, it's about the music, man, it's about the music. Yeah, well, you know, it is about the music. But if you can show certain parts of your life, certain hobbies you have, or certain mindsets you have with people, then they will attach to you as a person, and then you can kind of divert them to your music. One thing will catch their attention, and then they'll stay if the music is good. I think Youngblood is a really, really good example of that right now because he is very talented and he's got this look. And what they do, his social media marketing team or just whoever is on his team, they showcase his personality so much. They showcase his vulnerabilities, his weaknesses. They showcase that he is very loyal and good to his fans. And there's nothing wrong with shining a spotlight on those things. In fact, it gets people more attached to the artist. And if you have a story, that's even better. People are so proud. A lot of fans of musicians are so proud to go around and talk about the story of their favorite band or the story of their favorite artist. A lot of the times, you need to have an edge on every single aspect of artistry. If there's a person who is just as talented of a songwriter or just as talented of a musician, but they have more of an image than you, then they're ultimately going to be getting the job. So keep that in mind. That's a really important one, and one that I think that a lot of great musicians who are just obsessed with playing forget. All right, we reached the end. This is number 10, and maybe it's the most important of them all. Maybe not, but it's very important. Be social. Guys, you need to be seen. How is anyone going to become a fan of you if they don't know who you are? Post on social media, go out, ruffle some feathers, shake some trees, and there's going to be apples that fall out, and you eat those apples, and you keep shaking and shaking and shaking. And it will lead you to places that you may not expect, but no matter what, whatever apples fall from the tree, just keep collecting them in that basket of yours. I think it's really, really important for people to know who you are and really important for you to know who people are. I think a lot of the times we psych ourselves out with reaching out to people out of fear, but from the last couple years of going to NAMM, I have ultimately realized that all these people you look up to, all these people you want to be like when it comes to music or career or anything like that, they're all human beings. At the end of the day, they all have their own flaws. They all have their own things. Go out, don't be so anxious. It's not a big deal. You'll get rejected 100 times over and over and over again, but it doesn't matter. All of our favorite artists have faced rejection at some point or another, but they stayed persistent, they kept shaking hands, and they stuck with it. Those are my 10 tips for today. I know it was a little bit of a long video, a little longer than I thought, but I think elaborating on all those 10 tips were really, really important to get my points across for this video. Thank you guys so much. You're awesome. I release videos every Sunday, so please make sure to subscribe, leave a comment, tell me if you think I missed anything, and I'll see you next time.